In our last rigging lesson, we'll spend time cleaning up our scene to get it ready for animation. So when we get to this step, we'd want to check our controls, making sure that our coordinates have been frozen, making sure all of our user data works. Let's go ahead and show our landing pad as well as the aircraft layers. By the way, if you'd like to view your model in shaded mode, again, it's just a matter of using the hotkey NA, or you can do so from your display menu. But again, we just want to check and make sure each control has been frozen. We'll go to coordinates, great. We'd want to check also to make sure that every control is working properly. You can see here our fueling line. This should actually be controlled by the pod of our aircraft. So we can go ahead and take care of this easily. Let's go ahead and grab our goal object. Now I'm going to go ahead and rename it just for clarity. I'll give it a prefix of goal underscore fueling line 01. And now we can go ahead and parent this right to our pod control. When we do that, notice we should freeze its transforms. But now let's take a look. We'll grab our pod control and start to rotate it around, and you'll see that the fueling line follows. Great. All right. We'd want to check our user data, making sure all of it works properly. You can go ahead and check our swivel channels, our spin and speed channels, our screen control, things like that. And everything's working just fine. Now what I'd also like to do is create a selection object for all animation controls. So we have a very fast way of grabbing them all and adding animation. What's also nice is on the animation palette, notice we have a choice of animating on only selection objects. So this would be great for our animation controls when we only want those to receive animation. So let's do that. We'll go to our search field at the top and we'll search for the prefix we've been using for all of those control objects. That's anim underscore. And now we can go ahead and highlight them all and choose select, selection filter, and we'll create a new selection object. Now to see it, we'll need to clear out our search field. Let's rename this to cell obj underscore controls 01. Okay, great. So again, if we need to go ahead and grab them all, it's just a matter of double-clicking on our selection object icon. Let's say we go ahead and have this stored underneath our global move group. Now remember, we did create a control object layer. So we now have a fast way of adding all of those objects to our controls layer. We'll simply double-click on our selection object. We'll go to our controls layer, right-click, and choose Add Objects to Layer. Beautiful. Okay, so now that that step is done, and after we have checked things like naming, we could also take a look at keyframe selections in Cinema 4D. This allows us to animate only channels that should receive animation. So for our main control here, what we'd want to do is make sure our user data, as well as the position and rotation groups, receive animation, but scale should not. We would, however, want to scale our global control, but since all of our parameters here should receive animation, there's no need to create a keyframe selection for this. So we can go through, we can start with our main animation control, and again we'll highlight our position group and the rotation group. I'll just go ahead and control click it. We'll go ahead and right click and choose Animation, Add Keyframe Selection. So now if we were to go ahead and highlight Scale, you could see that we have this orange tint on these channels, just letting us know that only these will receive animation. If you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to take a look at our Introduction to Animation series. But I'll go ahead and do the same for our user data. It's very easy to look over these, so I'll just go ahead and make sure that these have also been assigned to keyframe selection. So I'll go ahead and right click and choose Add Keyframe Selection, and right underneath you'll find how to remove a keyframe selection. All right, great. So that's one object down. Let's go to our next group, which is for the pod. And notice we should only animate in the pitch axis on this object. If we animated in any other axis, it would separate the pod. So I'll just go to the pitch axis, right-click, and choose Add Keyframe Selection. We'll now go to the wing, and we'll need to do the same here. Only the pitch axis should receive animation. Now, this doesn't mean that we cannot move the other channels. We most certainly can go in and move these, but when it comes down to it, when we start to add animation, these will not receive animation. So they will never move, only objects that we have assigned. All right, great. So we've gone through and we've kind of cleaned up our scene a bit. We can go ahead and collapse our scene hierarchy just to take a look at how clean things are. We have created a very fun, animator-friendly rig. So in the next session, we start to bring this aircraft to life. We start to learn some really cool animation techniques so that we can have some fun creating a sequence that an audience would enjoy.